Good morning, everybody. Let us start the class now. I do not know why so less number of students have joined today. Anyway, today's class will be for 50 minutes or so. So now let us start the next chapter, that is the chapter on overvoltage. So straight away we shall go to presentation mode. So today we shall start this chapter, over voltage in power systems and traveling waves. Before we start our discussion, let me ask you one question that I think this traveling voltage wave, what is the surge impedance, expression for surge impedance, what is the velocity of propagation, etc. I think you have already studied in your uh, power system classes. Is that so? Somebody should tell me.
Yes, sir, we have studied.
So these things you have studied. So we shall not once again repeat these things. Though these things are there, it is available in your note. We shall just refer to the thing. We shall not consider all these things once again in detail. But the relevant points which are important with respect to high voltage engineering, that part we shall definitely take care and discuss. To start with, let us see there are three types of over voltages in power system. These three over voltages are power frequency over voltages, lightning over voltages, and switching over voltages. Now, the first one and the third one, the power frequency over voltage and switching over voltage, they are mostly system generated over voltage. Actually, to be more specific, these two over voltages generate from certain operations in your system. On the contrary, the lightning over voltage is a natural phenomena. It is not directly related to the operation of the system. It is not really system generated. Now, example of power frequency over voltage, as it is seen in your slides, seen from your slides, that it is due to unbalanced faults or capacitance loading, Ferranti effect, etc. But the important point is, in the case of power system over voltage, the over voltage is limited to 20 to 30% of the rated voltage, and that is why the normal insulation which is provided in the system is able to take care of such over voltages, and that is why it is not really point of concern so far as the high voltage engineering is concerned. Now, second one is lightning over voltage. Lightning actually is the main consideration for over voltage in transmission line and also in the case of open air substations for voltages up to 300 kV. Now, for operating voltages up to 300 kV, lightning over voltage is the main consideration, and considering the magnitude of the lightning over voltage which may appear here, adequate insulation is provided. Now, above 300 kV up to 700 kV, both lightning and switching over voltages are considered while determining the insulation or insulation level of the system. But beyond 700 kV, it is the switching over voltage which is the primary consideration. Now, let us in brief discuss the mechanism of lightning discharge. Now, before we start, one thing we should clearly mention here, that there are many theories which explain the mechanism of lightning discharge. There is no unique theory which is accepted globally. There are many theories which are applied to explain the mechanism of lightning discharge, and uh, the theory which we shall discuss here is the most, I mean, is used mostly by the engineers. Uh, and that theory we shall discuss here. Now, as it is seen from the diagram, actually uh, lightning is nothing but the discharge between heavily charged cloud and earth. Now, the process of lighting can be divided into two parts, that is charge formation and discharge. Now, these charges, as it is seen from the diagram, in the cloud, in the upper atmosphere, normally it has been found that in cloud, normally there are charge pockets inside the clouds, or there are charges inside the clouds, and it is also found that in the lower part of the cloud there is concentration of negative charges with a few pockets of positive charges, and in the upper part of the cloud uh, actually there is positive charge concentration. Now these charges, it is believed that these charges develop in the cloud mainly due to air friction and ion conduction. So again, now since there is a concentration of negative charges in the lower part of the cloud, therefore um the electric field intensity is very high in the region or in the lower part of the cloud, or in the proximity of the lower part of the cloud, the electric field concentration will be very high due to concentration of negative charges. Now, because of the high concentration of negative charges and development of high electric field in the vicinity of the lower part of the cloud, air starts ionizing. Now, when air gets ionized, uh, actually in the vicinity of the lower part of the cloud, the number of charged particles increases. There will be, after some time, there will be large number of charged particles, both positive and negative. Therefore, air no longer remains dielectric or remains or acts as insulating material, but on the other hand, we may say that due to ionization of air, a conducting channel starting from the lower part of the cloud has developed and extended to a certain distance. And through this conducting channel, actually negative charges from the cloud starts coming down, and using the same conducting channel, positive charges formed due to ionization, they flow to the cloud to neutralize the negative charges there. Actually, is that point clear up to this point, what we have discussed up to until now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then what happens after coming down, I mean, to the conducting channel, the negative charges actually moves. If we go back to the previous diagrams, you see here, or I think here it is better. You see the charges come down from the cloud through the conducting channel to a certain distance. There again, it is not really the charges, they do not really follow any straight path. On the contrary, it charges come down to a certain distance, and then ionization is not that prominent af- after that distance, and the charges at the head of the conducting channel again increases because charges continuously come down from the lower part of the cloud. So at the head of the conducting channel, concentration or accumulation of negative charges goes on increasing, and as a result, there negative charge concentration increases, and the magnitude of the electric field also increases at the head of the conducting channel, and new ionization starts, and again the charges from the cloud flows through the newly developed conducting channel, but not in the same direction but in some other direction. That is why the charges move through not through any straight path but through a tortuous path like this. And you must have seen when there is lightning, actually what really happens, the lightning does not occur in any straight path. Within the cloud, the path that is followed by the lightning is actually a tortuous path. This is the reason why tortuous path is followed by lightning discharge. Now again, in this way, the charges, negative charges from the cloud starts coming down, and when it reaches a distance between 50 to 100 meters from any earth object, then the object, earth object to be hit by the lightning is decided, and this distance is normally referred to as striking distance. And the conducting channels through which the the charges come down from the cloud to, toward the earth object, they are called the leaders. And since it is not a continuous path but it is a broken path and it moves through a tortuous path, that is why it is also referred to as stepped leaders. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, after determining the striking object, the lightning hits the object, and it actually then the charges from the cloud flows through the earth object directly to the ground. So there is a continuous path for the flow of charged particles from upper atmosphere, that is from the cloud to the ground, through the earth object which has been hit by the lightning. So there is a continuous path for the flow of charge, and from the earth, positive charges start flowing to the cloud through the same path, and they start neutralizing the negative charges there in the lower part of the cloud. That is why after some time, the lightning discharge automatically stops. It is not really a long time process. It takes place for a short while, because after that, lightning discharge is actually neutralized by the flow of positive charges from the ground through the same path through which actually negative charges were flowing. Now, the flow of these positive charges from ground to the cloud through the same path is normally referred to as the return stroke. And lightning discharge is normally expressed by, or lightning discharge or lightning strikes are normally either expressed or designated, whatever you call it, in terms of lightning current, that is 5 kiloampere, 10 kiloampere, like this. Okay? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Now again, transmission lines. You must have studied by this time that transmission lines are consisting of distributed inductances and capacitances. When any transmission line is hit by lightning discharge, actually a lightning voltage, the lightning voltage wave moves gradually in both the directions, charging the ground capacitances over the distributed inductances, which are connected in series. And also it has been found, since the lower part of the cloud is negatively charged, or there is lower part of the cloud is actually consisting of or having concentration of negative charges. Therefore, actually 90% of the lightning strikes are of negative polarity. Right? Again, there are two more things we should know. That is direct lightning strike and indirect lightning strike. Now, direct lightning strike is one when any object is directly hit by the lightning. The object may be transmission line, earth, it may be phase conductor or earth conductor, whatever, even the tower, whatever it may be. But when any object is directly hit by lightning, it is called the direct lightning strike. But indirect lightning strike is something where the object is not directly hit by the lightning, but it is affected by the effect of lightning. How it happens? One example of indirect lightning is the discharge between two clouds. That is there. But more severe will be actually when there is cloud in the upper atmosphere, since the lower part of the cloud is having negative charge concentration, due to these negative charges, opposite polarity charges, that is positive charges, will be induced in phase conductors, earth conductors, etc. Now these induced charges act as bound charges so long as there is no discharge in the upper atmosphere, that is in the cloud. But once there is a discharge, suppose you must have seen all the lightning discharges, they do not hit any object. Some of the discharges, they vanish in the upper atmosphere. But when that happens, suppose there is a discharge which does not hit any object, but it continues for some time, then disappears, then what really happens? There is some discharge in the upper atmosphere, and due to these discharges, the induced charges which were acting as bound charges till now no longer remains as bound charge but becomes free, and these free charges start traveling in either direction. And we have seen the magnitude of current involved in lightning, it is of the order of kiloamperes. Now, such a high current, when travels along the conductors, depending upon the magnitude of the impedance, a voltage is dropped or a voltage develops in the line, the magnitude of which will be equal to I into Z. So such a high voltage travels in either direction over the transmission lines, and the insulators and other objects which are connected in the line, they are subjected to such over voltages. And it may so happen that they are unable to withstand such a high voltage and may get damaged. So, though there is no lightning hit, but because of the discharge in the upper atmosphere, there is some, development of traveling high voltage traveling waves in the conductors, due to which these insulators and other equipments connected in the lines may get damaged. So this is the effect of lightning, but not direct effect. That is why this type of phenomena is also referred to as indirect lightning strike. Is that point clear? Direct and indirect lightning strikes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, actually, I have sent you the notes. Velocity of propagation of traveling wave. You just go through it since you have studied it once again. I am not going to discuss in detail. The thing is this: after deduction, if you have any query, these things, I think V is equal to 1 by root over L C meter per second, and surge impedance Z, that is equal to plus minus root over L by C. I think these expressions you are already accustomed to it. You all know, I think.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then again you just have a look on this surge impedance of a transmission line. The standard expression for inductance, distributed inductances and capacitance of a transmission lines are this. L is equal to mu 0 ln d by r Henry per meter, and C is equal to mu 0 ln d by r Farad per meter. So LC will be like equal to mu 0 into epsilon 0, and velocity is 1 by root over LC, that is 1 by mu 0 epsilon 0, that is velocity of light. That also I think you know, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now again, this can be expressed as surge impedance. L by C can be expressed as this 1 by V into C, velocity into C. Right?
Yes, sir.
Here, if you put the value of the capacitance, line capacitance as 6.67 picofarad per meter, 1 by V into C becomes equals to 500 ohm. And really, in truly speaking, the surge impedance of transmission lines lie within the range of 400 to 600 ohm. Similarly, we can determine the range in which the surge impedance of a cable lies, that is this one. Here again, you see, proceeding in the same way, we can find that the value of the surge impedance of a cable lies within the range 40 to 60 ohm. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Ha, sir.
Okay. Then you just see this one. What is the effect of lightning heat when the lightning hits directly on the transmission line? Suppose here we consider the lightning hits the line and the lightning current is I. Obviously, current will be divided into two directions, and surge impedance is root over L by C. L is inductance per unit length, and C is capacitance per unit length. And since inductance and capacitance have been expressed in terms of per unit length, then the point where the lightning hits doesn't matter. It will divide equally in either direction. So after hitting the line, the current divides itself into equally divides itself in two directions, and if I is the current, then I by 2 flows in either direction. Now we assume that I is equal to 10 kiloampere, and if 500 ohm is the surge impedance of the line, then the EMF that will develop or that will travel along the lines will be equal to Z into I by 2, that is equal to 2.5 million volt. Now, this is not the normal range of transmission level voltage. Maybe it is 132 kV or 220 kV or even 400 kV. So the insulators, these insulators are designed or selected according to the according to the level of operating voltage. So suddenly, if a voltage, over voltage of the order of 2.5 million volt appears across them, so they will definitely get damaged, isn't it? তাই তো হবে না হবে না? Okay. So this is one observation. But what really happens in the case when lightning directly hits the tower, not the line? Here the lightning, we assume that lightning hits the tower, and we further assume the surge impedance of the tower is 100 ohm. And again we assume that the current is 10 kiloampere. Therefore, the voltage that will be induced in the tower will be equal to 100 into 10 kiloampere, that is equal to 1 million volt. So the voltage of the tower body will be 1 million volt, and this 1 million volt voltage will appear between the tower and the line conductor. So the insulators will be subjected to a voltage 1 million volt here, and for example say 400 kV here. Earlier there was a voltage drop. The voltage that was appearing across the insulator unit was 400 kV between ground and line conductor. Now the the ground object, the tower, is suddenly having a elevated potential of 1 million volt, and that voltage is higher than the transmission level voltage. So there is a chance that the flashover may occur starting from the tower body and extending up to the line conductor. Normally, flashover occurs from the line conductor towards the tower body, but this time it may occur in the opposite direction. And is that point clear? Since the tower potential is greater than or higher than the conductor potential,
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
তাহলে এখানে ফ্ল্যাশওভারটা যেহেতু উল্টো ডিরেকশনে হয়, সেই জন্য এই ফ্ল্যাশওভারটাকে ব্যাক ফ্ল্যাশওভার বলা হয়। ওকে,
ওকে।
নাও রিফ্লেকশন এন্ড রিফ্র্যাকশন অফ ওয়েভস, এটা তোমরা অলরেডি পড়েছো, আমি এর ডিটেলের মধ্যে যাচ্ছি না। সরি, এই ডেরিভেশন এটসেট্রা সবই তোমাদের করা আছে আমার ধারণা। এই রিলেশনশিপ গুলো তোমরা অলরেডি স্টাডি করেছো, ভিআর, ভিটি এটসেট্রা। That VR is equal to Z2 minus Z1 by Z2 plus Z1 into VI. VT is equal to 2Z2 by Z1 plus Z2 into VI. These things I think you have studied. পড়া হয়েছে না হয়নি এগুলো? কেউ একজন বলো ক্লাসে হয়েছে না হয়নি?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
হ্যাঁ স্যার, এগুলো হয়েছে।
এগুলো হয়েছে, বেশ। তাহলে এগুলো দরকার নেই। বিউলিস ল্যাটিস ডায়াগ্রাম হয়েছে তোমাদের? আচ্ছা, এক্সট্রিম কেস গুলো হয়েছে, যে when Z2 is equal to infinity, what will happen open circuit line হলে?
স্যার এরকম ভাবে মনে
না
তো
স্যার,
নেই স্যার।
এটা বোধহয় হয়নি।
Okay, now the basic relationships, if you remember, VR, reflected voltage, is equal to V2 minus V1 by V2 plus V1 into Z VI, তাই তো? Z2 minus Z1 by Z2 plus Z1. Z2 হচ্ছে যে সেকেন্ড লাইনের সার্জ ইম্পিডেন্স, Z1 ফার্স্ট লাইনের সার্জ ইম্পিডেন্স, that into incident voltage, that is equal to VR. Now if Z2 is equal to infinity, infinity means open circuit line. So if Z2 is equal to infinity, then what we can write? Z2 plus Z1, Z2 এখানে যদি ইনফিনিটি হয়ে যায়, Z2 minus Z1 আর Z2 plus Z1 will be almost equal. Z2 is equal to infinity. So reflected voltage and incident voltage both will be same. VR will be equal to V1. And VT, transmitted voltage, that is equal to VR plus VI. So if VR is equal to VI, then VT will be equal to 2VI, তাই না? তাহলে ট্রান্সমিটেড ভোল্টেজটা হয়ে যাচ্ছে টুয়াইস দ্য ইনসিডেন্ট ভোল্টেজ। অ্যান্ড সিন্স Z2 is equal to infinity, IT will be 0. Therefore, transmitted voltage will be double the incident voltage, but transmitted current will be 0. And that actually corroborates our knowledge of Ferranti effect. What is Ferranti effect? The doubling of the voltage at the open end of a long distance transmission line, isn't it? সেটাই তো হয় Ferranti effect এ।
Yes sir.
So here also we see that when the line is open, that is Z2 is equal to infinity, voltage becomes double but the current is 0. So that actually verifies what we actually describe in terms of Ferranti effect. This is one extreme case. Next extreme case is Z2 is equal to 0. That is short circuited line. So Again, VR, Z2 minus Z1 by Z2 plus Z1. If Z2 is equal to 0, then VR is equal to minus VI. Then transmitted voltage will be 0. VT is equal to VI plus VR. That will be 0. But what will be the transmitted current? Transmitted current is II minus IR, that is equal to 2II. So Z2 means, Z2 is equal to 0 means a short circuited line. In the case of short circuiting, there cannot be any voltage at that point. Voltage will be 0, that is obvious. That is why VT is equal to 0. But in the case of short circuit, current increases, and we see that the current becomes twice the incident current. Okay? Is the point clear?
Yes, sir.
And the next one is this one. Line terminated with surge impedance. Z2 is equal to Z1. Z2 is equal to Z1 means, though we are joining two lines, but both of them are having the same surge impedance. Now, in such a case, since Z2 is equal to Z1, therefore, there will be no reflection of voltage from the expression Z2 is equal to Z1. So, VR is equal to 0. And what will be VT? VT will be equal to VI since VR is equal to 0. And what will be IT? Since VR is equal to 0, reflected current will also be 0 since reflected voltage is 0. And IT will be then equal to incident current. Therefore, there will be no reflection. The amount of incident voltage will be transmitted forward and the amount of incident current will be transmitted forward. And this is called natural impedance matching or surge impedance matching. And this is quite often used in practice just to avoid any reflection or refraction. In our laboratory, when we perform industrial testing of equipments like transformers, circuit breakers, etc., quite often it is necessary to record the applied voltage and resulting current waves. Now, in order to do that, we have to take the voltage from the impulse generator to the computer terminal and record the voltage waveform there. Now, obviously, the entire voltage cannot be brought to the computer terminal. Only a small portion of the voltage is actually brought to the terminal of the computer. But in doing so, if there is a mismatch between the input impedance of the computer terminal and the impedance of the cable through which the waveform is being brought to the terminal of the computer, then there will be successive reflections and refractions, and as a result, the voltage at the input terminal of the computer may increase, and the whole thing, the entire computer system may get damaged. That is why here, in either end, at the computer end and also at the generator, impulse generator end, perfect impedance matching is done. Next is junction of transmission line and cable. What really happens? Suppose we consider a lightning impulse is developing in an overhead line which meets the cable. The surge impedance of the line is considered to be 500 ohm and that of the cable 50 ohm. Then what will be the transmitted value, transmitted voltage of the cable? Not cable, transmitted value of the voltage in the cable. Transmitted voltage is normally expressed as Vt is equal to 2 into Z2 by Z1 plus Z2 into Vi. So here voltage is incident in transmission line, so the surge impedance of the line is to be considered as Z1, and voltage is transmitted in the cable, so the surge impedance of the cable is to be considered as Z2. putting these values, we see that the voltage that is transmitted in the cable is 0.182 VI. Therefore, the cable, if connected with the transmission line, the amount of over voltage is reduced to 18.2% of the original incident over voltage. Is that okay? Here?
Yes, sir.
Now, reverse case, in the reverse case, if the voltage actually develops in the cable and is transmitted to the transmission line, it will be just opposite. You see, it is Vt is 1.82 Vi. That is 82% higher voltage will be transmitted in the cable, in the line, if the voltage originally develops in the cable instead of in the transmission line. Now, keeping this in mind, normally between the two lines, in order to reduce the surge propagation, cable is joined. That is, two lines are interconnected through cables. Then what happens, you see, if the voltage is incident in line Vi, I mean in first line, the two lines are identical. In between the two lines, there is a cable. So if the voltage is incident on the line 1, that is Vi, and in the cable, the voltage that will be transmitted will be 0.182 Vi that we have seen. And from the cable, when it is transmitted to the next transmission line, it is Vt2, and that will be equal to 1.82 times the voltage in cable. Voltage in the cable will be 0.182 Vi, and that has to be multiplied by 1.82 to get the voltage transmitted in the second line. So doing this, we see it is equal to 0.3312 Vi, that is 1/3 Vi. Therefore, when we interconnect two transmission lines with the help of a cable, then the incident voltage wave in the cable, in the first cable, gets reduced to its 1/3 value. In the second, the incident voltage wave in the first transmission line gets reduced to its 1/3 value in the second transmission line after moving or traveling through the cable. Is that okay? Is that point okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then these things, fault lines, etc. I think, have you studied these things in your power system classes? What are the expressions for, I mean,
I think no, sir.
okay, then let us discuss this, and that will be our last topic discussion today. Okay. Here you see, we consider a fault line where one transmission line is bifurcates into two other transmission lines. The surge impedance of the three are Z1, Z2, and Z3 respectively. Let the incident current and voltage in the line 1 is Vi and Ii, and the reflected voltages are VR and IR respectively, and the transmitted voltages in the two lines are IT1 and IT2, and that obviously here we assume that the two lines are in parallel, so the transmitted voltage will be same for both the lines, that is Vt. Now here, with these assumptions, what we can write, IT2, that is the current in this line, IT2 will be ET or Vt, whatever you write, by the surge impedance of that line, Z2. And here, though it has been written IT1 and IT2 here, while doing the derivation, it has been considered as IT2, this has been considered as IT2, and this has been considered as IT3. So make this correction in your figure, make it IT2, then and make it IT3, then it will be all right. Otherwise, everything is okay. So IT2 will be equal to VT or ET by Z2, and IT3 will be equal to VT or ET by Z3. Then also II minus IR. II minus IR is actually IT. IT should be equal to IT1 or IT2 or IT. Then II, incident current, is equal to EI, incident voltage divided by surge impedance of line 1, Z1, and reflected current IR, that will be equal to reflected voltage ER by the surge impedance of line 1, Z1, that should be equal to ET by Z1, Z2 plus ET by Z3. Current equation at junction 3. Do you agree with this or not? II
Yes, sir.
minus, okay, then simplifying, what we get is this. ET is equal to this one. 2I C1 by Z1 by 1 plus Z2 plus Z3. Now, extending this idea, if n number of lines are connected proceeding in the same way, we get the final expression here. IT is equal to 2 VI by Z equivalent, where 1 by Z equivalent is this one. That is 2 VI by Z1 plus 1 by Z equivalent is this. So Z1 plus Z equivalent, if you look at this, you see IT will be equal to sum total of all these currents, that will be total transmitted current, and IT is equal to II minus IR as before. So, and VT is equal to ZT1 into IT1, that is equal to ZT2 into IT2, ZT3 into IT3, etc. From equation 1, what we can write? VT by Z equivalent, that is equal to this one. Can we write this? Vt by Z equivalent is this one. From equation 3, Vt by Z equivalent is equal to It, and It is equal to this one. From equation 3, we can write Vt by Z equivalent is equal to It, and It is equal to It1 plus It2 plus It3, etc. And what is It1? It1 is equal to Vt by Zt1 plus It2 is equal to Vt by Zt2. So we can write this Vt by Z equivalent is this one. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
And so finally, from equation 5, what we can write? 1 by Z equivalent is equal to 1 by Zt1 plus 1 by Zt2, etc. Again, from 2 we can write It is equal to II minus IR. Therefore, It is equal to Vt by Z1, II is equal to Vi by Z1 minus Vr by Z1. Therefore, from here, we can write Vi minus Vr is equal to It into Z1. Now, 3 plus 7. 3, what is 3? Let us see. 3 is this one. Vi plus Vr is equal to It into Z equivalent. And 7 is Vi plus Vr, Vi minus Vr is equal to It into Z1. So, adding these two, 3 and 7, we get 2 Vi is equal to It into Z1 plus Z equivalent, from where we get It is equal to 2 Vi by Z1 plus Z equivalent. And finally, from 3 is this one. Vt is equal to It into Z equivalent, and we have seen It is equal to this. So It into Z equivalent is equal to this one. From 3, what we can write? 2 Vi by Z plus Z equivalent. It is this one, 2 Vi by Z1 plus Z equivalent into Z equivalent. That will be your Vt. This is 9, where n lines are connected to the bus having same surge impedance. Then Z equivalent will be Z1 by N. Z equivalent will be equal to Z1 by N, and Vt becomes equals to 2 Vi by Z1 plus Z1 by N into Z1 by N. which after simplification becomes 2bi by n plus 1. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So that's all for today. Next class we shall schedule after few days, and I shall let you know. And I think the next class we shall be able to finish this chapter. And we shall require 3 more classes to finish our course. The chapter on cable, it is again repetition. So I think I'll request you all to go through the chapter on cable. And if you have any question, then we shall we may have a doubt clearing class. Otherwise, the cables will not be discussed in the class. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.